What's good? What's good? One did exactly what we needed her to. So this is an example of a perfectly executed, I guess you could say a return to origin, and also a choach, is what I guess the easiest way to refer to it. But we had a order block. It was not right at equilibrium. It was actually farther in discount, which would lead us for a higher probability setup. We had a low time frame and high time frame fair value gap here that had to be filled. So whenever you're playing these limits, you want to make sure that a lot of liquidity is being swept up, before your limits hit. Because think of liquidity like fuel, and if your car runs out of gas, it's going to go to wherever there's fuel, right? You got to go to the gas station. So whenever you come back down into these zones of internal range liquidity, you're preparing to expand to the external range highs. So one thing I want to reinforce: if you're using internal liquidity, you target external range, right? If you're using external liquidity as your entry, you target internal range. So here we have a pretty simple setup. It may look, so crazy like it's a Wyckoff schematic, but in essence, all we did was waited till we came to our level that we found on the daily time frame. And this is why it's important you do top-down analysis. And then we waited until we got a confirmation on the low time frames. And how did we find that? We waited for a higher high. So that's your change of character. And then breaking the swing high made by the change of character. And I see a lot of people, they look for like a break of structure up here. Like they want a change of character and then a major break of structure, when in reality, that's most likely going to be your final target. So whenever we have this first change of character, price pushes up, sapping up some liquidity. Oftentimes there's going to be a fair value gap, right? Or order blocks above. Not always. Um, and once we have reached and sapped all this liquidity up, so you see we filled this fair value gap, filled this order block. So remember, whenever your car's out of gas, it's going to go back to where it can get more fuel. So when price reaches these highs and saps up all of this buy side liquidity, where is it going? It's going to go clean up liquidity to the downside. And since we have bullish structure in the form of a change of character upon a daily level, along with a break of structure to confirm it, we can look for longs. Also, whenever you're looking for these setups, this is not really just enough to get a high probability setup. If you really want to maximize your win rate, because as we all know, no form of technical analysis works all the time. So if you want to refine your win rate, you want to make sure that you're picking the best setups, because the entire market looks like this at a glance. But when you dig deeper, you're going to be able to find setups that have liquidity just above your entry. And this is why we selected one. I think on last stream, somebody suggested we used, what's up, Granny? Oh, hell yeah, on the Twitch too. I appreciate that. Twitch doesn't really get many viewers. Um, but with this trade, we had our bullish price structure. We had mitigated this liquidity up above, leaving some equal highs as well, leaving some liquidity. That's the key point. We still have liquidity engineered to the upside. So once we have established that we have buy-side liquidity being engineered, that can also add to your bullish narrative. You're on a level on the daily time frame. And then on top of all this, we've got our confirmation, and then above our entry, we have liquidity. So price, whenever it gets close to these areas, think of areas of liquidity like a vacuum. And once all that liquidity's, swept up, price is going to expand back to where? More liquidity. So once we sweep this low time frame fair value gap, and then this demand zone. You can see price move dynamically away. We barely tapped into it. We could have even gone a little farther. You don't really want to go under 50% of the order block, but price did not even need that much liquidity, and it took the fuck off immediately. I mean, that's the kind of reaction you want to see when you're plotting out these kind of trades. You want to see a violent push away from your level if you're playing these low time frame changes of character. And think about it, there was so much confluence with the trade, right? We had came down and swept up old lows right here. There, I guarantee you guys, there's an order block somewhere in here. I'm not gonna go back and search for it, but there's liquidity. Think of Wix as liquidity. Um, in this instance, price was this low during this day, but it um, pushed all the way back up to what? How much percent is this? Probably around, yeah, a huge gain, 15% gain. There's going to be tons of liquidity when you have that violent of an expansion. So we came back down, cleared these lows, just like we're looking on the 1 hour. We sapped up some of this liquidity, and on top of that, you had all of your low time frame confirmation. So that's going to, how the fuck did this get up here? But that's going to give you high confidence in the trade that you would select this over maybe some of the um oh yeah, Twitch actually sends notifications, but it will let you select this trade setup over some of the other setups, because I guarantee if we go down the list, we'll even use this watch list. A lot of these are the same. We're having these changes of character, some not playing out, some playing out. And while, to be honest with you guys, a lot of these charts look like distribution right here. Like this looks like redistribution. We caught some longs off this, but at the same time, this doesn't look great. We see these rounded highs, head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it. But the key aspect of this is you can easily identify these setups by changes of character. For instance, if we could come down to this order block right there and change character, then this distribution could be violated. And this is why you got to get good at understanding price action and not just looking at something and kind of guesstimating what's going on. Like, oh, manipulation of highs distribution. Well, it's usually right, but not always that simple. For instance, if we come down to this level and then you see on the 15-minute, we start to break these highs, make a swing high, break another high, you know, you can catch longs or even spot a market reversal by using that simple setup of a um, change of character. Super, super easy. Now, I'm just gonna look. I haven't really done much TA today. The only trade that I've, as far as futures, been in is one. Look at Bitcoin, and honestly, Bitcoin's probably not much change. It's not looked great for a while, in my opinion. Let me do a different feed. I'm still holding these shorts, by the way. We're testing this demand, but it's not making. See, for instance, if we would have made a higher low here, but we didn't, then I would be a little bit more bullish. We just look like we're mitigating that pump kind of. Once you see expansive moves in price, a lot of times it's not necessarily a good thing. We could see price still push up here. I would say into maybe a 50% of this order block, or even sweep up more liquidity. If there's a fifth, let's see on the 15-minute, maybe all the way up here. But unless this is very similar to the setup we had with the IMX. I'm in equity. The limits that I gave you guys, those, I know I told you guys to break them, or break even your stops. I was playing equity, so I didn't use those stops. But if you are in leverage, let's take a look at IMX. Actually, give me 1 second. I want to finish this Bitcoin. But if you're in leverage, you should have been stopped out at the whenever we move stops to break even. Usually, I won't just tell you guys that just to protect, the win rate. If I say that, it's because good reason. And yeah, sure, sometimes trades still fly after that, but you always want to make sure you protect your bags. Even if you get just a small win out of something, a win's a win. Don't let it turn to a loss if you think the market could shift tides. Now, when we look at this price structure here, if we take a fractal of this, and we'll go back up here, and let's do this. It doesn't take an hour. Look familiar? Yeah. So, just because we're pumping doesn't necessarily mean that we are shifting to a bullish structure. Like I've been saying, it sucks because the rest of the market looks great, but Bitcoin looks like absolute shit. It just sucks, honestly. It worries me. And it's weird because I've not seen this where, we didn't break structure on Bitcoin. Usually it's Bitcoin and ETH. They'll both look like shit. But no, growing, I've seen over time, Ethereum continuously look stronger than Bitcoin on high time frames. And I mean, there's good reason. It's just much more utility to Ethereum. It's got a lot more going on. And if you look at Ethereum here, we broke these highs. We came up, broke structure, right? Tapped into some of this liquidity and saw an expected pullback. Ethereum could pull back all the way down into these levels, right? There's a lot of liquidity with Ethereum that needs to get swept. Could pull down all the way back down to here and it would still be bullish. Bitcoin, on the other hand, the only rational area that I can see for us to go where I would really like to see a reversal is going to be these equal lows here. So go to the 4 hours, a little quick. There's a lot of liquidity under this. Also, if you look here, let's actually go to the 1 hour and see if we can spot any good setups here. So I'm going to plot this, but I'm going to go to 15-minute to see if we can get a better entry, because we can play changes of character that haven't been tapped. Like for instance, the way we played 1, yes, it hit pretty quickly, but sometimes you won't see these levels hit for quite a long time. So for instance, here we have your change of character right here, and then your break of structure right here. So how would you play this? And I probably will play this once Bitcoin comes under that 36,900. You can look, we had a change of character. This is back in February. Broke structure again, leaving this order block. It looks like it matches up with the hourly order block, so I'll just leave it be. The big bodied candle right here matches perfectly with it, so I wouldn't try to dissect price much further than that. And people, probably don't think that these levels matter anymore because they're on such a low time frame and they're from so far away. But just like I said before, we have what? Tons of liquidity, fair value gap over here. It goes in the 4 hour, wherever we saw it. I mean, actually, there's another one right here. Tons of liquidity. It's going to get swept up. And no, a fair value gap has not been swept up at the 50% line. That's a super dumb way to play fair value gaps. But the fact of the matter is, once we come back down into this level, there's going to be heavy fear, induced selling. You're sweeping up the sell side liquidity, and you're coming back down and mitigating these levels. If you're a bull on Bitcoin, this is where you want to be a buyer next. I wouldn't touch it till then. It would provide a very good risk to reward. We will probably take longs from this area, and I do think that Bitcoin's going to break down here. So that's another reason why once these plays get to where we're have decent profits, we've hit a 1-to-1, meaning that our profits grew to the point where say if the stop loss is 5%, then you have your take profit at 5% gains. At that point, you would take partials and set stops to break even. Like I said, you never want to give back those gains. So as for IMX, really hasn't been in. I mean, if you played it and didn't set stops to break even, you haven't been red much at all, except the initial part of the trade. This doesn't look great, right? So we see this. If we're going to low time frames, here you had your first change of character right here. Let's go to a different chart because this is pretty marked up. So you had your initial change of character here. I mean, I guess you could mark it at this high, but it's the same swing. And then broke structure pretty quickly. And usually I'll shy away from these kinds of plays. And with good reason, you can see how this played out. If you took the longs right there, I mean, if you break structure right after the change of character is made, oftentimes you're just coming in a supply to mitigate, right? You just cleaned up this low or this high right here, and obviously came back to the downside. So on the 1 hour, we were just playing limits here based off a daily level and not really a change of character on any time frame. But if we're looking at the 1 hour, you look at it and say, okay, well, here's one lower high. I wouldn't consider this stuff highs personally. With this on this time frame, I would consider this. Um, you have the still a lower high right here, and then all the way over here a lower high. So once we break this high right here, then you have this high to break. So once you break this high, um, and we are maintaining bullish structure here, as far as from a reversal standpoint. And this is why this looks like distribution or redistribution to a lot of you guys. And everybody says, "Oh yeah, redistribution and accumulation or reaccumulation and distribution or however you want to." They have similarities and they're hard to tell apart. Well, this is how you tell them apart. So most people that look at Wyckoff schematics would tell you, "Oh, dude, distribution," and it very well could be, right? You do have a sign of weakness in the form of equal lows here. I will say that. I don't like that, but there's no reason to say this is distribution just yet. Now, when would we say, okay, maybe if we come clear this high, sweep up this buy side liquidity, and then expand to the downside. But until then, we're making higher lows. We've got a change of character, and we're waiting for a break of structure from the swing high that change of character sponsored. So at this point, like I said, if I was in leverage, I would have got stopped out at break even after we saw those light gains. I think we saw like maybe like 30-40% on 10x. It's not bad. And then from there, you can maybe look for reentry if we get a break of structure here to the upside. There's a reason I'm not really getting too gung ho on longs. It is the Easter weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a pullback. Bitcoin looks fucking horrible. Volume is going to wane off into the weekends. Speculative investors are going to sell. It's not going to be the greatest. It doesn't at least seem like the greatest framework for some aping into a fuckload of longs. Once Bitcoin comes down under that 36,900 level, that's where I'll be really, really looking for a lot of longs. But the thing that sucks about it is a lot of these setups for alts are exactly where they need to be, and they're going to get fucked up if Bitcoin drops like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. If we drop this down to the recent level, you see we're right at equilibrium, right? We broke structure, saw our normal profit taking, and then now, we're getting that change of character. We haven't got the break of structure, but I'm worried for Bitcoin. I really am. So we'll see how that plays out. A lot of liquidity has been swept, but there's still some remaining in this fair value gap. It's going to take a lot for me to not be bullish on IMX just because the fundamentals. That's originally what we got into it. So I'm going to stick to my bags. But for leverage, definitely you want to make sure you have more confirmation. If you're still holding our original entry. My thoughts on near. Well, first off, fundamentally, I'm super bullish on near. I've actually been doing a lot of research on near and Aurora, which is I think the biggest protocol built on near by total value locked. I think that near has a lot of upside potential. It's not even seen any kind of U.S. attention. I don't think it's even on Binance US, but it's not on Coinbase yet, and it is a very respected smart contract platform in the developer world. So as soon as they can get some audits and get approved to be on United States exchanges, I think you're going to see a massive explosion. Um, Still in its infancy as far as being used as a DeFi protocol, the weekly looks super, super good. If you can get above these highs up here, you're looking pretty strong. If crypto can remain bullish and you don't make a lower low, I mean, on the weekly, you're just looking amazing. Now, if we go back to the daily, you're definitely due for some retracement. It's classic setup, right? You came up just like we were looking on that 1 hour with one. Came up, you've mitigated the buy side liquidity. You've left a lot of liquidity to the downside. If we look over here, fair value gap. And yes, that is still a fair value gap. Just because it's not 20% long doesn't mean that there's not a gap between price right here. And on top of that, what else do we have here? An order block sitting right at equilibrium. Now, I wouldn't advise playing just limits off of this daily level with the current market conditions. I would wait until we have confirmation, but this is how you find those daily levels. I'm actually going to set an alert for this. So, oops, I just hit my Windows key. Set of control. But you can set an alert that prices came back down to our levels and say watch for change of character. And that's how you're really going to be able to refine your win rate and make the most out of your trades. And it's patience. It takes longer. Everybody gets FOMO, like, oh, what if the limit smack on the daily and it just flies? Well, whatever. Get to another coin. But I do like this setup. Normal price action. Once you understand liquidity, we've came up, swept this. It would have been nice to clear these highs, but it's okay. We have a lot of sell side liquidity down below us. So, yeah, I would just wait on this personally for quite a while. So, if you guys have any other coins you want me to go over, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go down this 2022 watch list I've been making and find some levels. CHR. What is CHR? Does anybody know? Want to let me know in voice chat or comments? Actually looks pretty good. So you've got ingenuity. I said ingenuity. Liquidity being engineered to the upside in the form of these equal highs up here. That's super bullish. We broke structure on the daily high time frame or daily trading range. God, I can't talk, can I? We're back down in this demand zone. This is kind of what we're waiting for near to do. You filled up all this liquidity right here. Now let's look and see if we're getting that change of character. It looks like we are at a first glance. This is this is exactly what I was saying a second ago. So yeah, you had your change of character. And then you had your break of structure, but it was questionably on the same swing. So this is where you can get burnt trying to be an early longer. So if you look at this, everybody that's trying to force longs is going to say, oh, this is our break of structure. And I can see the logic behind it, but you can see what happened to people who took any of these order blocks, if you want to call it that. I mean, you got fucking wrecked. And the reason being, for one, this is in question of being a part of the same swing. So you would really need to move this up to here. And you're also engineering liquidity, right? You're leaving equal highs, giving more reason for price to return to where you need a break of structure. So that's bullish. You've also got this liquidity above. It would be better to have this farther up, so that way it could be a target. Also, you've got this liquidity right there. Those equal highs. So we're leaving a lot of liquidity up above. Another order block here too. The 50% hasn't been tapped, so there's still some liquidity in there. Even though we've dug into it a little bit, I wouldn't pay it too much, not even as much mind as these equal highs. But if you can see a violent expansion causing this break of structure, leaving a nice fair value gap with an order block down below, it would be more ideal because your targets are going to be this external high up here, these highs, I should say. So you want to make sure you have a good enough risk to reward to where it makes sense. So if you could see something like, I mean, a massive, just explosive expansion, really, I'd rather have this down here to where, that order block that that you're playing is still down here in discount of this range. Sorry, over here. If you can still have an order block that's over here in discount and a close stop loss. Also, you want to have an expansion of the upside because you'd leave a fair value gap. And remember, we're looking for trade setups that involve a lot of liquidity being swept up in the process of price returning to your origin, right, or your entry. So I could see how this maybe would set itself up to be a good trade, but to be honest, I mean, unless you get that exactly what I just said, I would probably sit it out. But it does look good, and on the daily time frame, it looks good. To put it this way, if I was fundamentally bullish on CHR, I would be buying it here. I wouldn't really care too much about all this just because we're in discount of the recent trading range. Seems bullish to me. We're engineering liquidity to the upside. You've also got this massive order block up here. I mean, there's a lot of reason for price to go higher. Fair value gap just above these highs. I mean, once price gets close to this is a vacuum. All this up here is gonna price is gonna fly to it. So, you know, who knows if you catch some longs here, you might be able to swing your runners all the way to the end of the range. SXP, I got you. I charted this already. Whenever I change up the aesthetics of my chart, I just like want to delete everything, which I'm about to do with this. Fuck it. So SXP, I mean, it's got enough data where I almost want to look at it on the weekly. So you've swept up a lot of liquidity here, all these lows, and yes, they're not completely equal, but this was a quote support level for people who play support and resistance. Tons of people got out under these levels, so it's good you're cleaning up that liquidity. Seems like this order block over here, I would just use the entire candle, including the wicks. You tapped into this weekly order block. So if we come back to the daily, you also look pretty good here. You look like these lows are getting manipulated, trying to push down lower, shake out the weak hands. Um, which candle has more volume over here? So, yeah, this top candle. So yeah, you've dug into this order block. I'd actually refine this because refining these levels on a weekly or even daily, a lot of times you want to refine your levels so you get more pinpointed. And you see, we dug all the way into this, a little farther than equilibrium, but that's okay. Once we hit into this order block, what did we see? Change of character. Notice we had a high right here, all the way from back over here. High. I guess if you call any of this, I would just say this is the next swing. Lower high, and so on until what? Got that change of character. And no, this is not your breakup structure. You're going to want to wait till this. And this would be your daily confirmation. And this would be, your highest probability trade for a major trend correction. If we could see price break back above this high, and I'm going to send an alert for this actually. I will say though, with crypto, when you use these daily confirmations, you'll get sometimes left behind just because once you break some of these levels, it's good game. But that's okay. I'm still going to set these alerts, and if we get a good opportunity, I'll take it. The reason I would wait for this with SXP is just because, first of all, I don't really fuck with the Binance Smart Chain. I think everything to do with Binance and Solana is extremely overpriced by like probably. I'm not these coins, but I don't think that the BNB or the native tokens on these chains are worth even 50 to 60% of what they are at. So anything that's on their chains, once that intrinsic value begins to find itself, you're going to see um, reflections of that in the protocols built on said chains. um, so I'll mark this here, daily change of character. But I will say, I mean, you do look good. We'll say that. I mean, you look like accumulation on top of this weekly and daily demand. Um, Not much volume though. If you see, I mean, SXP was flying there for a while. We were all trading it. Everybody was so hype on SXP, and then you can see that interest completely died off. And we have clear manipulation. You can see these massive candles, most of which, though, when you look at it, were bearish price action. And this the expansion of the downside, right? As the first major influx of volume you had in weeks. Again, here you have something liquidity rate. You're rating supply to accumulate positions to go to the downside, and then here you have mitigation of a order block up above. So none of this is good price action. So whenever you see large money only coming into the market to sweep up buy side liquidity, that's not usually a great sign. So I would be careful with this one. I think there's a lot better. I see a lot of you guys like getting like stuck on the same coins, and there's so many better coins to trade. You want to trade something that has a lot of volume, that the sector it's in is seeing attention for its fundamentals. Whenever the metaverse was hot and it still is, trade metaverse tokens. Whenever DeFi, Ethereum 2 was coming up for a while. I know they pushed it back from June now, but upcoming to big Ethereum events, trade Ethereum DeFi. Stay with the times, understand what's going on in the market around you, and you'll be much better suited to find the best trading coins to trade. Like right now, trade layer one smart contract platforms. Why? Because everybody's anticipating the failure of ETH2. So people are giving other alternatives attention. Think like that, and you'll be able to find coins that are going to be easier to trade, and they're going to react to these liquidity concepts better because there's more volume. So um, that's just food for thought. Here on the 1 hour, coming back down into this demand zone with SXP, you've got your change of character, similar to the price action in the daily, but you need to break this high. And then if you can break this high, return down to the order block, see a dynamic push in price away, you would be targeting these highs up here. Because remember, you're targeting external range highs. If you break this structure up here, you're almost committing that you're in this price range, right? At first, I would have drawn it here, but you see we broke structure. So at this point, you're waiting for a break of structure that's already external to this range. So you're going to expand your range, and you're going to look for these highs up here, or this high, I should say. Also, got a lot of liquidity here in this fair value gap. And I know there's some wicks right here. Whatever. I guarantee if you go on like a 4 hour, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, no, actually less of a fair value gap. I would still trade that little zone though. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it looks all right. If you're a big believer in SXP equity, if you're not buying here, I don't know where the hell else you'd buy, except like fucking 50 cents or something. Dogelon, god fucking damn it. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that one. God be with you if you trade that. I'm gonna look over shitcoins. I went for a stage there where I would fuck with shitcoins. BHR did that one in for me, guys. So thanks Supreme Patty for my exit of the shitcoin market. Also, that dude in crypto chat just said something about the OG Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is random, so I'm sorry. But this is really fucking crazy to me because earlier today my girlfriend was telling me that the actual Texas Chainsaw Massacre wasn't in Texas and there was a different movie. That's so fucking weird that somebody just said something about that in crypto chat. Anyway, god damn it, free granny. But anyways, back to STMX. STMX is another coin that I wouldn't probably touch. I mean, that's just me personally. I know that it's seen some love recently, but these, to me, I mean, you guys might hate me for saying it, but I still consider these shit coins, and you don't look strong here. You see here, you looked okay, but you failed to make a higher high. And yes, we're on the weekly, but the same principles apply to all price structures. So you see price return back down into this demand zone, right off equilibrium. So that's good. But then you fail to even break minor structure. You just come up and sap up more liquidity to go down. There's a huge supply zone. I know we would refine this, but there's no reason to. I guess you could look at it like you formed equal highs here for STMX bulls. Know that their platform is to do with making crypto payments. Maybe I'm uneducated on STMX, but I don't think they've seen an insane influx in users. So with that being said, scaling into the daily, I mean, it doesn't look great. So if you look at this from so let's say really here is your change of character on the daily to a bearish narrative, and then here was your confirmation. So let's look for the order block that's sponsored. It's going to be over here. See where the most volume was. You would look really within this candle. I'm sure we could refine this a little bit, but you see we candle shelved off of it. So in all honesty, this just looks like complete bearish price action. So don't get fooled. And look at this. What do we have down below? Liquidity. This looks like shit. This looks like if I would have looked like at this up here, I would short the fuck out of it. I wouldn't even care if crypto was in a bull market. I would happily get stopped out if it didn't work. Oh god, is this even more equal lows here? Yeah, it's not equal, but this did not get swept up over here. I mean, I don't know. I'd look for sub 11 cents. So I wouldn't touch this as far as equity. I just wouldn't. So take it as you will, but that's my analysis on it. And this is the same price structure. Remember, we use this in the 1 hour, we use it on the 15-minute, we use it on the daily. It doesn't matter. Same thing. You do have some equal highs in a couple different spots for you STMX bulls. I mean, I could mark some liquidity, and up here, I don't know. I wouldn't fuck with it. Maybe if you can get above these highs over here and then start to maintain bullish price action, but until then you're in a bearish high time frame narrative. So I would be looking for shorts, which they already been missed. Remember, we're down in discount now. We don't short discount. But your bullish high time frame narrative is going to give you a bias of what kind of trades you look for, using that low time frames for your entries. But you always got to stay aware of what's going on in the bigger picture. You know, like when in doubt, you got to zoom out. The STMX is lagging on getting their debit card rolled out. What a surprise! Another shit coin with hollow promises and a roadmap they had no intention of delivering. And they might now that they saw a huge run here, but I don't know. I don't have much faith in it. Although this coin did make us a fucking shitload of money. Gilmer. All right, let's do Gilmer because I've been getting you guys on this. This one is a fundamental buy for me, but looking at the daily, we'll just do it all together. So looking at the daily, we broke structure to the upside, saw our normal return down to origin. Could still see some lower lows here. It's a DCA buy, so I hope you guys listen and don't just full port. I know a lot of you probably just full ported, but that's up to you. Here, you could say this was your order block since it has the highest volume, and if that's the case, we did dig down into it, saw bullish price action on top of it. So you have your high, lower high, I mean, in all honesty, I would probably say this is your confirmation here. Oops, do that. So I would be looking for all this liquidity to get swept up. I know that there's some wicks here, but if we go on the daily, actually, it's not that bad. But regardless, I would look for the order block that sponsored this move, which is going to be this down here. Whenever it's this big of a candle, I'd probably refine this. Um, I'd probably look somewhere up in here. But I'd still use stop, so under this major low right here. A major to the 15-minute at least. But I mean, I don't think there's even perps for this. But the point of the story, we're seeing bullish price action on a daily level. Again, if Bitcoin just starts dying, we'll probably see this not play out in our favor. There's trendline liquidity that needs to be manipulated to the upside. Actually, looks like that might be about to happen if we draw from the highs to the highs. And whenever I'm using these trend lines, I'm not saying we're going to play a breakout, but I am saying price is going to get pulled above this, maybe continue, maybe not, depending on other factors. But it's trend line liquidity is liquidity nonetheless. Sitting around fair market value, I guess you could say, if you're a cup and handle guy, you could maybe say this is a cup and handle. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. So, what really all a cup and handle is just accumulation into reaccumulation. But I like the chart. We've came down and got more of a realistic price. Obviously, saw some crazy shit on its. Somehow it's still closed. I mean, this is bullish for me. So whenever you see these ICOs, a lot of times you'll have a huge red candle on the first day with the wick to the fucking heavens. Now, while we have that wick here all the way to 50 fucking dollars, what this shows me is that, I mean, this is where you started. This was where bootstrapping was offered, right? This is where they offered at 20 cents and it pulled a Alice and ran all the way up to $50. Now, while I wouldn't use this to, I wouldn't say, oh, well, this is huge and bullish, but I would say that you closed 3,300% above where you were offered. So while price did have to return back down here and get back down to a realistic bottom, I think that we're seeing a good example of bullish price structure, and we're under these lows that we formed. I mean, there's not much data to go off of. I put this on the list actually. Now, with these parachains that are being built on the substrate of Kusama, you have a lot of interoperability potential. So DeFi can do really well on these chains, and I think there's quite a bit locked on. Let's see. On maybe go to the parachains section. Yeah, there it is. No, nothing crazy actually. It's only like 150 million. To put in perspective, this is more than half of what Cardano has locked on it. But I really like parachains. I think they have a lot of potential. At one point, we had a lot more money locked in this, but that was also whenever the coin was worth, um, you know, 1,000% what it is now. So when you look at the drop in price relative to the drop in TVL, it's not that crazy. So this is one thing you want to look for whenever you're doing fundamental analysis. So we say, okay, yeah, well, we dropped a little less than 50% TVL, but price dropped uh, what 80% and really 90% at lows. So at that point, you can maybe assess that although price fell, free fell, you'd think you would see more large investors pull out from the platform, but you didn't. So that could be bullish. Also, like I said, bullish price structure, and then I guess you could say is the inverse Head and Shoulders for whoever you guys that trade those. I don't know, but I like it. A lot of these coins are. Dude, this shit fucking makes me sick. I almost got into this literally like it was like 2 weeks ago, so it's probably somewhere in this madness. But I just looked away, completely forgot it, and then yeah, you know how that goes. Those coins are always the ones that go crazy. So fair value gap on the daily. It's really the only big area of daily liquidity. Also, you've got this major low. I would like if price would come back down under that. If we look at the 1 hour, nasty wicks. Some of these newer coins, it's kind of odd to trade some of these concepts, but with a little bit of back testing, and if I get confirmation, I'll trade literally any kind of tactics, any coin. So let's see what we got here. Where's the highest value? Looks like in this. I'll just mark the hole. There you go. Sitting on, remember we're on the 1 hour, and this coin is heavily extended. But let's see. So we got a 15-minute from here. This is an odd one just because this way it kind of fucks it up. Because you would say almost, no, I'd still wait. I would say this is your change of character. Safe, and if you can break above this high, maybe look for some longs. You don't need a leverage on this kind of shit though. It looks good though, and that's what I'm saying. Like I can go on any fucking altcoin chart right now, and everything looks primed, but Bitcoin looks like shit. So you don't want to get caught up in that. Some of these coins, I don't think. I mean, you can see that this hasn't seen a bear market, but you still want to be mindful of your surroundings. I've been wanting to get into this for a while. Another one that I want to get into, where is it? Astro, but I think the only way you can get this is on Astro's port is a DEX on Luna. So I think you can get it with the Terra Station wallet and just swap Luna for it. This one has some weird price action. Not really much liquidity on CoinEx, so kind of sucks that you can't really chart it. This is one that I'll wait till I see Luna regain, a bullish narrative on the high time frame. Which I think on the lower time frames you could see some longs, but I mean, call me crazy, but I want under $70 before I really build into Luna. And once I start building into Luna, I will also start building into Astro. There's a couple other coins. Another thing we played, for those of you guys, we played Mirror a long time ago, and like back in the bull run, like I'm pretty sure like before the crash, like it was somewhere around here. I remember because it was when it went to like $13, and maybe it was before. No, because it was on Binance. Maybe I'm crazy. I remember we played Mirror and it fucking paid, but I didn't no idea that it was. I didn't even know what Luna was back then, but I can't remember if it's lending or not. No, it's a derivative platform on it's like SNX but on Luna. So like you could buy like how PaxG was incepted. Like you can PaxG is not incepted on SNX, but basically you can peg real world assets to a coin and tokenize them. Prism is another I'd like to build equity in. Anchor will be looking to buy some more here. I don't know if you guys that took this on leverage, because I know some of you did. Hopefully you took profits when we were up. You're up 40% from our entries, so hopefully you did. But here, I mean, we're starting to get down to really good levels. Probably, You look like you mitigated this zone right here, so I would look for this next zone. Um, Seems like maybe not. Maybe you're going for some liquidity down here. Another thing too, when the market pumps, a lot of times you'll see Anchor and Luna dump because remember, Luna is all about stable coins. And whenever there's a heavy influx to stable coins, for one, recently it's been just because whales are switching from Tether and USDC and DAI to UST. But in normal market conditions, you're going to only see a huge shift into stable coins during, um, a bearish narrative, which is why we see Luna pump whenever the rest of the market dumps. But as whales have started to, kind of set their roots in with UST, I think that we'll stop seeing such a massive pump in Luna. So that's why I want to wait. I'm being real careful with Luna, even though I'm super bullish on it fundamentally. I think that it's one of the pillars of crypto remaining decentralized, due to the fact that it's basically. Think of how to. There are some ways you can look at it, like the decentralization it provides is bad because the Do Kwon or any of the team don't disclose their wallets and how much Luna they hold. But the scan for Luna is really privatized. You can't view a lot. That can be good and bad. But also, if you believe in crypto long term, like remaining decentralized and that being its biggest source of value, you're going to need Bitcoin, Rune, and Luna. And Luna for the reason that it provides the only decentralized stablecoin, which is UST. That's what Terra is about. And they're trying to develop more coins for other currencies, which is going to be necessary if you ever want to use crypto for most real world applications, other than DeFi, of course. And then Anchor is the lending platform that people are able to collateralize their Luna or their, or they can lend out their UST. So, well, on that note, I'm gonna hop out of here. I gotta run to the store and grab some wine, and uh, my girl's gonna be over here later. So if I don't get to the store and get this wine before they close, she's gonna be pissed, and there won't be any more trades. But I appreciate you guys. Just holler at me. Let me know if you have any questions. At me in chat. Send me a DM, comment. Send me a Twitter DM, whatever the fuck it is. Just get at me.